Hi, I'm Kim Sobat, and thanks for joining me today. I'm doing a cold wax and oils painting demonstration. I've started out with a hardboard panel. It's a cradle panel, and I've already pre-coated it with a coat of black gesso and then a coat of acrylic paint over that. Now I'm doing my background here in this warm gray. I really love this color. It's kind of like, I don't know, wet concrete or something. And it's just, it's a nice neutral, and I think it'll make a good background. So I'm going to try to get this panel all covered. And I'm using a bowl scraper. This is something you can buy in a kitchen store. I'm using that to spread my paint out on the panel. You can also use a brayer or whatever you like, but I kind of like using this these bowl scrapers. You can get this covered pretty quickly with those. Now this is a 50-50 mixture of oil paint and cold wax medium. And cold wax medium is very much the consistency of like shortening, like Crisco or something. So you do have to blend it well, but it's not hard to do that. And I'm going to go in here with blue. I want something to kind of contrast with this putty color, this warm gray, and I think blue will kind of pick it up and give it some life. I use phthalo blue a lot in my paintings. It's my favorite favorite blue. I'm just going to go in here. I want to kind of create a pattern, a path, if you will. Around the painting, something for the eye to follow. And I'm just going in here. I applied this with a palette knife, but now I'm going back in with my bowl scraper and mixing in, just using a light hand, but still picking up a little bit of that putty color, which makes this nice sort of greenish blue. And I want to leave some of it a little more pure blue, and then some other places I'll apply a little bit more pressure to pull in that under layer of warm gray. You kind of need to turn this bowl scraper almost to on its side to prevent it from digging in too deeply and just ending up with mud. Now I'm going to go in here with black. I always like to have some kind of a dark color to sort of ground things. I remember watching a show once where a decorator said, even in an all-white room, you should have just a little bit of black. And it keeps things from just sort of floating in the air. Kind of brings things back down to earth, so to speak. So, yeah, I usually will put some sort of a darker contrasting color, and I think black will work nicely on this painting. And I'm using a light hand to spread this out. I don't want it to be too mushed in there, or I will definitely get a mud. You have to be very careful with black. It's easy to get carried away, and you don't need much. So you can see that's given it a lot of character. Now, I'll be going over this many times, but yeah, I kind of needed this base in there. Just doing some areas where I want to smooth some things out. A little less sharp or contrasting. And I'm going to go in with white. Okay, so I've really hit all the values. I've got the darkest, the lightest value, and then some values in between. And I typically do put some white also in my paintings because it just kind of adds what would normally be highlights in a more realistic painting. Plus, when it blends with the other colors, it gets a whole other shade of whatever I'm using. If it's blue, then a light blue or whatever. But I usually have a little white somewhere. I'm just going to go in and blend this in a little bit. And typically I'll have blended areas, and then I'll have areas that I like to kind of keep textured looking. And a little bit more blending up here. You know, honestly, if you pay any attention to fashion or home furnishings, so many of the same rules apply, and they will often tell you to mix textures to get an interesting look in your home. And then the same thing goes on a painting. If you have all smooth colors, it's a little boring. If you have all textured, it's just maybe too much. So by kind of mixing those up, I think you get the most pleasing look. There could be some exceptions to that, but I think that typically that works nicely. Now, I think I'm going to actually intentionally make this painting busy. I want this to be, I don't know, have a little bit of an urban feel, maybe. And a lot of times when you do an urban scene, you want a lot of activity for the eye, because that's how a city is. And I still do want to have some mellow areas where your eye can kind of chill out. That's just, I do that on most paintings. And I do that because it can be a little much. It can be a little bit too much stimulation for your eye, and your eye has a little trouble processing it all. So I'll usually have some areas on every painting that are just a little less active than the rest. And this will, I'll do the same on this one too. I'm going back here and I'm digging up a little bit of that gray underneath. I don't want to bury it. So bring a little bit of that up. You know, see how that white kind of gives this sort of twinkling lights look, and so that's, I think that's kind of a nice look too. Makes it kind of fancier, I guess. I don't know. Okay, so, you know, I had a little bit of trouble with my bowl scrapers. Sometimes when you clean them with mineral spirits, they get a little bit bended and pitted, so I'll probably need to be better about cleaning them with baby oil, which doesn't create that problem as much. I'm going up here. I want like some vertical, you know, like a city. I want vertical. So, you know, city lights, like building with city lights. So that's what's going on here with this white. And let's see. I think I want some areas to mellow out a little bit too. So I'm going to go back in here over on the left with some more of this warm gray. I don't want that to be, I'd like to bring that kind of back into my scene here, sort of as my background. I just love that color. One I use is made by Lucas, which is Jerry's Artarama carries this. It's their brand, and they're inexpensive paints, but I really actually like them quite a bit. I use a lot of different brands, but this is one of the ones I like. Okay, so going back in here with some black again. I maybe over blended a bit, which that's okay. I can always, you know, add back in. Want there to be a little bit more going on in the right at about the 2/3 down point, so you get the idea that there's some landscape to this, and that black will sort of do that. It'll ground you there. It sort of creates like a horizon line sort of thing. But it also, can represent shadows and things. If we're talking about a little bit more urban feel, then there'll be buildings that have shadows and things. Just do a little bit of blending, and I don't want just blobs of paint on my panel. I want them to look like they're a little more at rest. I'm going back in here with a little bit more white. Lighten that up a tad. I want those to look like, some city lights too out there in the background. And this is where I'm just gonna start tweaking. I have the basic bones of the thing that I'm perfectly happy with. I just need to, kind of tidy up. And that kind of gives you that mellow resting place over there on the left. Just a couple more little tweaks here. And just smooth out some of this stuff up here at the top. Okay. I'm about where I want to be. Just a couple little touches here. Yep, I love it. And I think this to me now looks like a nautical town or whatever. I'm gonna call this Port of Call. They're usually busy places, but there's a little marine thing going on here. So Port of Call, I think. I think that really says what I want to say here. Well, thanks for watching, and check out my other videos here on YouTube. Please visit my website, kimsobat.com, and my YouTube channel is Kim Sobat, where I have other painting demonstrations, how-tos, and a tour of my studio. If you're interested in having me come to your town and do an art workshop, please contact me at kim@kimsobat.com. Thanks for watching.